Alright, today we are going to be looking at the Cavesson and how to properly use it. This is Moose. She has graciously decided to help demonstrate it. So this is another way of lunging if you are not comfortable lunging off the bridle, or if you have a more inexperienced horse. It's good for horses that don't really know how to lunge yet. If you've had a horse that is used to just lunging, get energy off, and they need to be retrained how to lunge in a calm manner. If the horse pulls on the lunge line, this is a far more solid. You obviously don't want them pulling on a bit on the lunge line. So this is, I know it looks a bit scary, but it's not as near scary as it looks. So it's a lot like a halter, as you can see. It's, here, let me put this. This very long piece is just because Moose's head is extremely small. It works a lot like a halter. And the big difference between this and a halter is it has this brow band to keep it in place like a bridle. And then, of course, the big obvious one, this giant metal contraption over the nose. Now, excuse the geese. We're on a farm. They decide to scream whenever they want to. So this, some people might look at it and say, oh, metal nose band, that's terrible. This gives a little weight, but this does not constrict the nose at all. It feels a little weird to the horse at first, but you will notice there's a lot of padding. It is not used like a bridle or any way in a manner that it puts pressure on the nose. It is simply, it holds these rings. This is where the lunge line, hold on one second, where the lunge line will attach to. Now, any of these three attachment points can be used for the lunge line. I generally just use the middle one, where this will be coming directly off the nose. If we go over here, we can actually put this on so you can see it better. So, like here we have the halter. You can see the similarities of the halter and the Cavesson. Now, Moose has had this on a couple times. It's been quite a while, though, since she's had it on. But it should already be adjusted to fit her well. There we go. Good girl. Now, it is rather heavy. Pardon the geese. It is rather heavy, so first time you put it on a horse, they will probably think it's a little strange. But they get used to it quick. Now, you will notice, you want to make sure it's not high enough to be binding on their cheekbones or rubbing. Problem with this is, there's a reason there's so much padding in here with this neoprene, is make sure it doesn't rub, because with all this weight, you risk rubbing more than a regular halter would. So, now the reason, you see with a regular halter, we're running off. A regular halter, the throat latch would come down through here, but with a Cavesson, for stability purposes, this throat latch is forward a lot more. So here, if we put on the, please don't run away, put on the lunge line. Now you can, depending on which way you're going, you can put the lunge line on whichever is the inside ring. However, I prefer to use the center one, which you can see is centered on the nose, and it has the ability to twist like this to account for whichever way around the circle the horse is going. So if you use it, well, she knows what this is. She knows that we're supposed to be lunging in it. So if you use the center ring, you don't have to swap around the rings when you change directions. And easy. Now, I do like to keep this nose piece a little looser. Some people will say you need to have it tighter. My reasoning is having it too tight will not allow them to lick and chew as much, and that, at least for Moose, makes her a lot tenser. She does not like it with it that tight, so that's why I leave nose bands a lot looser on her. I know there's always going to be people who say that's wrong and that's not good, especially with the heavier nose band, but that's just my opinion. So here we can gather up the. Oh, we got tied up here. So it's very important, obviously, to before you start lunging, making sure you have your lunge line not tied into a knot like I did. And you don't want to. I see some people will wrap it around their hands like this. You don't want to do that, because if you do that and the horse takes off, the loop might tighten around your hand, and suddenly you're skiing behind your horse. And that is never pleasant. You can loop it, but you want to have it through your hand like this, so that if the horse would take off and you can't stop them, you can simply drop it, and everyone is safe. Now, oftentimes, you do use lunge whip with it. With Moose, I cannot leave the lash out. She's very sensitive to it. Now you can start on either side. With her, I always start on the left side simply because she's partially blind on the right, and she does not like lunging on that side near as much. Okay. Now I'm starting this. I'm starting in the lunge round pen like this because it's easier for the horse to understand the circle. When they get used to it a lot more, I'll take them out in an open space where they don't have the pre-established circle of the round pen to use as a crutch. Obviously, it's ideal to not do this on the grass, but I don't have an arena to do this in, so we work with what we have. So it's like most methods of lunging. You can just send them out in the circle, point in the direction you want to go. Good girl. Now, you see she's pulling towards the gate there. That is obviously where the barn is, where her buddies are. So you can see she's quite sensitive. I don't really have to push at her very much now. You see, obviously, she's cutting in on the circle. I'm not being too picky to start with. It's been quite a while since she lunged in the Cavesson. She needs to get back into using it. So I'm not going to nitpick right away. It's really about reminding her of the concept. Because even when she did use it, it's probably been close to 2 years since she used it. And even then, she probably only used it a handful of times. And ideally, we don't want dogs in the way, but that's just how it is. Unfortunately, they know to stay out from under things. Now, mostly we're just going to do walking today. But that's because she's still getting into it. Now, you'll notice when she puts her head out, the nice thing about using the center ring is when I have to just gently use it to nudge. Hold on a second. Wait for the goose to stop screaming. If you notice it, when I use the Cavesson and the line to gently nudge her nose back on the circle to get her to stop focusing and trying to pull out for her friend, using that center ring means I'm actually moving her nose. as opposed to if it were on a halter, it would be pulling under her chin, and it would be an uneven pressure, and it would be allowing her to still toss her pull in a strange direction, and it would encourage stiffness. Where in this way, it's pulling her nose, nudging her nose in a manner that encourages lightness and relaxation. Now you notice, if you notice my posture, my elbows are bent about a 90-degree angle, a lot like I was driving. Good girl. And you notice I'm not doing a whole lot with the whip, I'm just kind of holding it out here. Exactly how you handle the whip is kind of depends on the horse. Some horses, you shouldn't really use the whip at all. With her, I don't move the whip really. If I do move the whip, it's gotta mean something. She's not very forgiving about moving the whip unnecessarily. If you can see now, I'm just gently moving the whip towards her hind end just a little bit to say, hey, get back out there where you belong. And she's getting it. Now, the circle isn't perfect, but we're not looking for perfection right away. It's getting better and better. The big things we're looking for are relaxation and correctness in the body. Correctness in the body. Now with this, where I'm tipping to just speed her up a little bit, that's less about speeding her up and more about getting more energy in her feet to move her out away from me, to get her back on that circle where she belongs. Pressed a little too hard there, now she's trotting. Did not intend for that, but see, if I were to go pull on her now and try to force her back down, that would create a lot of tension. Here, I'm just going to go with step and turn. Ooh, good girl. Now, not all horses will be that sensitive and responsive. Really coming in, I'm going to shorten the line and actually go out deeper. And now I'm going to be walking in something of a circle too. Sometimes she needs this. This way I'm a lot closer. I'm within about a whip length of her. This is me being able to control her a lot better. Now you see that licking and chewing. If I had that Cavesson a lot tighter on her, as some people might say it should be, she wouldn't have that freedom in her mouth to do that licking and chewing. I don't know if she'll later start yawning, but sometimes she does when she really gets to relax into it. She might start yawning, and those big jaw-cracking yawns take some extra room in the noseband of the Cavesson. Now, if we try to change the direction, first we need a halt. Now, an important thing with the halt, unlike some lunging styles, it's important for them to stop parallel to the wall. So when she stops, she needs to be facing the same direction as when she's walking. I like to keep the whip like this, put out my hands, whoa, step in front of her. Good girl. Whoa. That's okay. That's it. Whoa. Oh. Now you notice she does have a bit of a tendency to move in. She was originally trained using natural horsemanship techniques. That's okay. I just nudged her back where she was supposed to be. She still has that, and probably always will have that tendency to want to turn in automatically. That comes from the natural horsemanship background that That was pretty much all her previous owner did with her, was the natural horsemanship, particularly Clinton Anderson groundwork. So that's where I'll probably always be fighting that with her. But now change of direction. So you notice, again, because this ring is centered, I don't need to change which ring the line is on. So all I'm going to do is gently get her moving, pull her towards me. I send her off in the other direction. There we go. Now we're just resuming the same posture. Now different horses will lunge better in different directions. For her, this is her weaker direction because you might be able to see it in her eye. She is partially blind on this side. Might be able to see a little cloudiness there in that eye. So she might not. Now that was my bad. I put a little too much pressure on that line. And she is super sensitive. And you notice she's getting a little lazier and walking slower. That's her form of protesting. I don't want to be doing it. I don't like lunging. Now the reason I'm back a little further on this side is because of her blindness, partial blindness on this side. She doesn't like me being up here close. So I'm trying to respect that. And as long as she's doing what she's supposed to, I'll stay back where she's more comfortable having me. It's all about knowing your horse and understanding that no horse is going to be exactly the same on both sides. And you have to really remember to treat, especially in the beginning, almost treat them the different sides as two different moves. Because now, essentially, we're starting over on this side. Anything she may have learned on the other side needs to be retaught on this side. Now again, she has been lunging this before since she's not a complete beginner. Well, that was not my fault. That was her being a brat and trying to turn in and be lazy. Come on. You're feeling a little better than that. Now, another big safety thing you need to keep in mind is you don't want this line going down to the ground like that. You will see occasionally when she suddenly swerves in, it will get slack like that. But now here, if you see off that topic, you see how I kind of twist my wrist like that to bring it in? That is a manner that I wasn't trying to really jerk her head. But you see her head's starting to go out now. I just gently just nudge it in. I'm not pulling. I'm not forcing. I'm just very gently. You notice when you get some of that slack out, I just lift it up a little bit until she takes that slack out where I want her to be. So again, I'm just tweaking that just slightly. I'm actually holding this pretty much like I would hold a rein when I were riding. There we go. Give me a little more energy in that. She's always going to be a little lazier on this side. She likes to use the eye as an excuse. The more into this she gets, the longer she's done it, the less of that excuse I'll accept. But when they're first starting out in this, when they're first starting out in anything, you do have to kind of pick your battle. I'm not expecting perfection right now, because it's been quite a long time since we used it. Now again, we're going to try a halt from this side. Now, one thing you will notice, right now my back is turned towards the barn. And the pastures, now my back's more towards the pasture. You will notice that when I halt her, I try to never do it on those sides of the round pen. Reason being, because halting is a reward. And you notice every time she pulls out with her nose, it's going to be on those sides where she's wanting, like right here. She's pulling not just towards the gate, but towards the barn. And now she's looking out towards the pasture with her buddies. I'm not going to bring her to a halt on those sides around here. So if I want to halt, ideally, I want it to be over right about here. Whoa. Good girl. Now I try to keep my whip in front of me a little bit. This is more of a sign to her that I've taught her when I have my whip out here like this. You just stop. And it's also, because she has a tendency to start going again, this also kind of creates a block for her. Now you notice when I get this whip too close, sometimes she starts putting her nose. Give it a moment. It needs to shut up. Hi, baby girl. See, now she's anticipating turning around. What I was going to say before is there was a moment there where she got uncomfortable with how close this whip was, and she really turned her face in that direction. And if you notice, I brought the whip back towards me just a few inches as a way to acknowledge, okay, I got it a little close. I understand you, girl. And she appreciated that. So now she tried to overcorrect and anticipate. Well, we stopped. Now we need to change direction. And I'm just saying, no. We need to stay here. Now, I had been thinking about changing direction. But because she's anticipating, I'm not going to change direction. We are going to move off in the same direction where we're going. Right in that direction? No, you're not even grass. Now that to prevent her from eating grass, again, I didn't pull. It was just a gentle nudge. The nice thing I really like about the Cavesson is, particularly these ones with the heavier nose bands, the nice heavy metal ones, is it really amplifies your movements with the line, and you don't make communication very light and easy. Now you can get ones if you're really not comfortable with the real heavy weight of it, or if your horse just absolutely will not tolerate it. You can get ones that don't have that heavy metal across the nose, that is just completely nylon across, just has embedded rings. Alright, I think that's about good for that session. Now we'll just come around to the other side, because again, we don't want to stop right here. Now I don't want to stop exactly the same place the last time I did either. It's a gentle balancing act. She's anticipating the stop. She's like, come on, I want to be done with this. Oh, good girl. Now I'm just going to pick up this line, come in. I am going to drop the whip because she gets a little uncomfortable with this close. You do have to be careful, make sure you don't trip over it or anything. And again, no winding the rope around your hand. Keep it bundled up. You know, you're just going to love on her and tell her she's a very good girl. And that, for the first couple sessions, that could be all you do. Eventually, you want to graduate to trotting and even loping on it. But she's quite out of shape and hasn't done this in a while, so we'll just stick to a walk for now.